This is Dr. Bol Jock with Jikmir Developmental Model. Today we will deep dive into the concept of vital few versus the trivial many, where we will explore the efficiency, productivity, wealth distribution, inequality, and how the Jikmir Developmental Model can address these issues. The first core concept we're going to discuss is the vital few versus the trivial many. Imagine a small part of the population creating the majority of the impact. This is the essence of Pareto principle. The Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, is named after the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto. In the late 19th centuries, Pareto observed that roughly 80% of Italy's wealth was owned by only 20% of the population. He noted a similar distribution in other countries as well. This observation led him to the formation of what is now called the Pareto principle, which suggested that a small number of causes often leads to a large portion of the effects. Interestingly, Pareto also noticed that this principle applied to crops, especially crops growth in his garden. He found that 80% of the peas he's harvested came from just 20% of the peas he plants. This example illustrates how focusing on the small productive sources can yield to the majority of the results. Efficiency is another important concept in 80-20 principle. In the world filled with many problems, especially in South Sudan, finding efficient solution is crucial. The key is to identify the solution that address the majority of the issues. By focusing on the vital few solution that solve the majority of the problem, we can maximize our impact and the resources. So, have you ever noticed that a small portion of efforts yield the most efficient results? This is the productivity aspect of 80-20 rules. In various domains, including work and personal projects, understanding this principle can help prioritize tasks and boost overall productivity. The 80-20 principle extends to wealth distribution, where 80% of world wealth is owned by only 20% of the population. And you could say this number is even higher in South Sudan, where very few people own majority of the wealth. According to Pareto principle, systems by their nature often create inequalities, whether it is economic, social, or educational. Disparity tends to emerge naturally. So what is the Jikmir Developmental Model trying to solve in this then? So in contrast to the top-down approaches, the Jikmir Developmental Model champions a grassroots bottom-up strategy. This model aims to empower local communities, harnessing available resources to create sustainable and equitable growth. By focusing on the grassroots, the Jikmir Developmental Model embodies the principle of vital few, the 80-20 principle champion. It targets the core elements, which are local resources, community engagement, which solve the majority of issues at the ground level. One striking example of this principle in action is the crop growth. By concentrating on the most fertile land and the most efficient farming practices, a small portion of land can produce the majority of the food. This approach maximizes the yield and ensures food security with minimal resources input. So, what is the overall aim of this then? So, by understanding and applying the principle of vital few versus the trivial many in Jikmir Developmental Model, we can drive efficiency, productivity, addressing wealth distribution, inequality, and implement effective model like the Jikmir Developmental Model.